Ferdinand, and I am one of the three literacy coaches for the Kay Finley Summer Literacy Institute. Today, we are going to be looking at telling and writing stories. Now, it's a writing workshop, but it felt important to me to really start with this idea that stories don't actually start on the page. Stories start in our imaginations. We hear stories, we think of stories when we're kids, we tell stories to our friends and to our parents, and sometimes we hear our parents tell stories, and then we start retelling those stories that we think are cool or interesting. And then after all of that imagining and telling and hearing, then sometimes a story is written down. So we're going to really go through a process today of hearing, telling, retelling, imagining, and then move into putting pen to paper to writing. I think one of our big challenges sometimes in schooling is we start with the end point and we forget the process of that we do as creative humans. And we really want to model that same process in carrying our young people through their writing. So these are the literacy skills we're going to be developing today. The three big sub-skills are language. So you're going to be engaging in conversation with each other as you tell your story and talk about what you hear. You're going to be using a variety of vocabulary words. We're going to do some question starts for our quick journaling. That also brings us into the rules of language with how we ask questions. And then you're going to tell a story to one partner at least. So everybody will have an opportunity to present information and practice expressing themselves. Then we'll also do some building some comprehension skills. When they say comprehension for our literacy progression, they're talking about a child's ability to read and understand. Now, our reading is going to first happen through the listening and oral storytelling, but we're also going to be taking some notes. And so you'll be doing a little bit of writing with notes and then also reading what you write to someone. And then making connections between my story and the story you tell. And then the final literacy skill we're going to be working on is writing. It's a writing workshop. So as you see, in 4.1, one main component of the writing literacy skill is telling stories. And then we're also going to explore how you write your story when we think about what are the qualities that have to be in your story. Okay, so, but first, let's kind of talk about what we're going to do. So we'll start with a little journal prompt. That'll lead to our check-in, just so I can see where you all, what you're bringing into the space. Then we'll do a little bit of grounding, a little breathing, so we all come into the same space together. Then we'll do that question starts again, but that'll lead to your writing prompt. You'll hear my stories, you'll tell stories, and then after doing a little hearing and retelling, then we'll move into story writing. And then we'll close with some reflection where some people are going to share out some of their stories with us. Okay, so let's begin with our first prompt. Oh, the templates for the writing and the reflections are all going to be in this Google Doc. If you don't already have it, check your chat box. Jillian will put the Google Doc into the chat box and save a copy for yourself so you can write in it. But it's really mostly meant to be printed. Some of those are not formatted well for writing in them. But go ahead and open that so that you can follow along. Okay. First, question start. So this is a routine that comes from Harvard Project Zero. Their thinking routines are really a way to help us just develop our thinking before we're moving to trying to produce information thinking. And this one is called question starts. So our prompt is simply today, and we're just trying to think of some questions. When you think about today, what questions come up for you? When I think about today, why am I so full? What did I eat for lunch? For 2 minutes. And I want you just each get pen and paper. You're not going to show these, so don't worry about it. It's just a brain dump of questions. What questions come up about today? Ready? Begin. If you get stuck, there's some question starters on the screen. Okay, 5 seconds left. Finish up that last question. Okay. Now what I would like you to do is pick one question that kind of sticks out for you? What's on your mind right now? Any question, what's on your mind right now, and circle it. And we're going to do a check-in. It's just an opportunity for us to quickly share what we're bringing into the space. So sometimes it's, hi, my name's Aminisha and I'm hungry. It's a name and a feeling. Or sometimes it's just a movement. Today, our check-in is going to use this prompt, and we're going to say our name. I think I'm going to add our camp. So it'll actually be 3 things. My name is, my camp is, and I'm wondering. That's all you're going to say, just because our check-in should be quick and it just is what we're bringing into the space. So I'll model. My name is Aminisha. I'm a literacy coach for K Finley Summer Literacy Institute, and I'm wondering what's new on Netflix. Then I'll pass it to Francesca. Make sure you unmute.
Hi, my name is Francesca Martin. I'm with New Orleans Ballet Association, and I am wondering how to make kids less intimidated to write.
Hi, my name is Pam Carey, and I'm with VED Summer Camp, and I'm wondering if we will have a good number of students this year.
Okay, thank you everybody for checking in and just bringing those thoughts and questions and wondering into the space. Now we're going to do a little bit of grounding to bring us into this space where we're going to start moving into our storytelling and story writing. So go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable position with both of your feet flat on the floor or on the ground as you are able. If your hands are folded, try to find a place where your hands can be open, hanging out on the side. Take your first breath in. This is just a cleansing breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Nice. This breath is for you to carry something good into your body, and then breathe out something that's distracting you. Breathe in. Breathe out. This breath is to really just let you now notice your body. Feel your lungs filling with air. Notice your body and how it is supporting you in this moment. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Now on this next breath, when you breathe in, I want you to imagine that there's air coming into your vertebrae so that your head is a balloon on top of your head. Breathe in. Allow your vertebrae to lengthen. Allow your head to come up. As you breathe out, rotate your head. Rotate your head. Again, rotate your head. Rotate, get ready the other way. Rotate your head. Rotate your head. Again, rotate your head. Let that move into your shoulders. Rotate your shoulders. Rotate the other way. Rotate your shoulders. Let that move into your elbows. Rotate your elbows, however that feels good for you. Rotate your elbows. Let your whole arms move. Stretch and rotate your arms, however that feels good for you. Rotate your arms, let it go into your torso. Rotate upper body, that's your shoulders and your head and your neck and your elbows, and then go the other way. Rotate your upper body, that's your back and your shoulders and your head and your neck and your elbows and your arms. Getting slower, getting slower, getting slower. Back in our breath. Breathe in and out. Let your rotation start to come to stillness. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last breath, breathe in and out. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to move into our writing activity. But first, let's do our same prompt. The question starts prompt. Imagine this is the beginning of our writing activity, but we are going to start with a question about writing stories. So for those of you who are just joining us, we did one of these question starts. This is a thinking routine that comes from Harvard University's Graduate School of Education's research arm called Project Zero, where they were thinking of all these different routines that we can do in our classroom that promote thinking, not answering. This question starts routine is specifically to promote curiosity, to encourage our students to ask questions. And for us, as we're developing writing skills, the actual format of a question and the starter of a question are important literacy skills, especially for our younger emerging writers. So this one is just for you. You're not going to share this out unless there's something that you want to. You're going to take 2 minutes, and I just want you to write as many questions that you are wondering about writing stories. Go ahead and put your pen to paper and begin. The point of a thinking routine is that we do it over and over again so that our minds start to get more comfortable with this type of thinking. And so the encouragement is not about how much you get down, but just being in the practice of thinking. Okay, hold on to those questions and we might come back to them, but really they were just for you. So the first step of our storytelling is I want you to just hear a story. Now, this is actually a story that's made up. It's inspired by a popular story that you might catch wind of. Okay. So this is a story about a time I was hungry and I went out to quickly pick up some lunch. So the other day I had a craving for a barbecue pulled pork sandwich. So I went to this self-serve food court down the street from my house. And they put out the dishes, you know, under heat lamps before lunchtime, so you don't have to talk to anybody, which is perfect for me because I just wanted to run in, get my food, go home and eat it. So I got there and there were these 3 beautiful cases of these barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. Now the first one was in this like straw hut box that had pineapple on it. So I think it was maybe a tropical flavored sandwich, but I sneezed as I picked it up and the straw hut fell apart and all of this straw went in the sandwich. And I was like, I don't know where the straw has been, so I didn't want to eat that. So, and then I heard this voice from behind me from one of the people eating, like, I know she's going to pay for that. So I smiled, I didn't turn around and I said, yes, she is going to pay for that. So I just left that on the counter and then I moved to the next box. And this one was pretty nice case. So it was like this wooden box that had a hole in it so I could see inside. And I could see this like delicious barbecue sauce with like the charred meat and the crispy bread. And I was real hyped. So I gingerly went in, picked up my sandwich, and then whoom, the sandwich slipped out of the wrapper onto the ground. And I was so frustrated. I yelled, who wrapped this doggone sandwich? People started making some noises behind me. So I got myself together and I heard again, she better pay for that one too. And I said, she is going to pay for that one. Got myself together. Moved on to the next case. There's only one sandwich left. Now this one is in this beautiful case. It looks like a mini brick house, you know, and it's got like this beautiful window on it. And I can see the sandwich is tightly wrapped, but the top is available. I can see like the sauce and there's some chow chow, and I can even see the little like grains of the Dijon mustard in there. So now I'm hyped. My mouth is watering. My stomach is grumbling. I'm hoping people don't hear it. And so I go to open it and I can't figure out how to open the box. Now the top of it looks like the roof of a house with a chimney. So I'm like, oh, maybe you just lift the roof. Doesn't happen. The straw hut fell apart when I sneezed on it. Tried to blow on it. Nothing happened. I tried to lift the window. Nothing happened. I started knocking on the door. The thing would not open. So I picked it up and I almost was about to smash it. And then I heard like nothing. The whole food court was quiet and everybody was looking at me like I was losing my mind. So I put it back down. I took a breath. I picked up those other 2 sandwiches and I scanned them, beep, beep, on the little machine. I swiped my card, paid for those dirty sandwiches, and just walked out of that food court, and I'm never going back there again. The end. In your chat box, any ideas? What story was that inspired by? Write it down if you have a thought. And then in the meantime, I'm going to put the template in here for y'all. If you have not yet, make sure that you are opening the Google Doc and saving a copy for yourself because you're going to need to use this now. Yes, Strangisha. Yes. So the easiest way, I think, if you want to start introducing your own story is to take something that the students either already reading in your program or one that's a very common story and just adapt it and make it your own. The 3 Little Pigs, exactly. So in that Google Doc, there's 2 different templates. I want you to go ahead and take 2 minutes or 3 minutes and just make some notes on what do you remember hearing in my story. You can use this bubble template as your guide. That just asks who was there, what did they say, what did they see, what did they hear? Or you can use the sequencing template as your guide. And just make some notes. What do you remember in the story? It's been 1 minute, just in case you feel like you've gotten everything. There's more. There's more details. Keep going. Keep adding. We have about 30 seconds left. If you feel like you've gotten everything down, try to think of 2 more details that you can add to your notes. Now, you're going to have an opportunity to retell this story with a partner as you remember it. So if you go on your next page in your Google Doc, you'll see this title, Retelling with a Partner, but I'll also share my screen to give you a little bit of those steps. So you're going to retell with a partner. You'll be in a breakout room with 2, but as you remember it. So there may be something that comes up, a new detail or a changed detail. That's quite all right. So first step, you're going to reintroduce yourselves. Hi, my name is, my camp is, and then decide who will be your first storyteller. Storyteller number 1, you're just going to use your notes to tell the story as you remember it. No editorializing and no explaining it. Just I want you to go right into it. This is a story about a time I was hungry and went to get some lunch real quick, and then tell your story. Story number 2, you have 2 jobs. You're just listening to the story, but I also want you to keep time. If you have a phone or a timer or something, their story should be 1 to 2 minutes long. If they stop after 1 minute, say, oh, you have 10 seconds left. You can add more details. If they're going close to 2 minutes, just hold up 2 silent fingers so they know that they're starting to come up on time. If they go over 2, it's fine. You don't have to stop them, but you can just give them this signal. Okay? After storyteller number 1 finishes, I want you, storyteller number 2, to share a detail that stood out to you. I liked how you said the same thing. I liked how you said, no. Oh, I had forgotten about that detail where she dropped the straw hut. Something that you noticed that they said. I liked how those starters are also in your thing. Then you're going to switch roles, do the same thing, but storyteller number 1, you're now the listener and the timekeeper. And after they finish, you're going to share something you liked. I liked how you added this detail, or I liked how you kept this detail, or I had forgotten about this detail and I like how you added that. And question for y'all. What was the enjoyable part of that? So you told a story, you listened to a story, you made some notes and tried to retell it, and you gave feedback. What did you enjoy about that process?
The person I was in the breakout room with was really personable with the story, and I really liked that because it felt like I was actually following them along the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that too.
I enjoyed that the person who was telling the story of when I was listening and I would hear a detail that I forgot. I was like, oh, I like the sneezing portion. I completely forgot about that part. And I just thought like you just knocked it over. So I enjoyed hearing things I didn't remember.
Mhm. I enjoyed hearing things I didn't remember. Just because we enjoyed laughing about and retelling the story through a COVID era lens.
We had that in our group too, and it was really funny.
Tamika says, I enjoyed hearing the details of the sandwich. That was funny. What was difficult or a challenge in the process?
I think that once we got all of our details out of the way, really trying to pick your brain to remember those excess details got to be a little challenging.
Once we got all of our details out, trying to like pull those extra details out of our brains was a challenge. Summer, I really appreciate that y'all were doing that brain work though, of really trying to pull out those details. What was difficult or a challenge?
Giving a lot of detail, but then staying like within the 2-minute time frame.
Oh, I'm seeing some head nods. So some of our stories actually, when we tried to include those more details, we started to go a little bit longer. So just as a opening a window from the facilitation side, if you want to do this type of process with your students, as I wrote the story, I edited it down because I wanted my story when I tell it to be 3 minutes long. That way it was chock full of enough details that you should be able to speak for more than a minute. But I want it to be up to 2 minutes long so that you were trying to get as much juiciness into your story as possible. So my story was 3 minutes. Your story as a retell should be 1 to 2 minutes long. If it's over 2, that's fine. Out of my storytelling, because
I'm proud of my storytelling because I was able to add a little spice and make my partners laugh.
Yes, and I dropped into your space when you were telling your story, and I didn't want to leave. It was nice and spicy. Also, Tam, I dropped into yours, and I really liked how you said you were adding the details, but you were telling it, and it was almost as if I hadn't already told it. I was listening to it as if you were telling a story about somebody else.
Okay, your name came up. Yes, I'm proud of myself because I felt like we all remembered a lot about the story as we put the pieces together. Both.
Wonderful. Okay, y'all. So now you have heard the story. You have told the story. And you have heard the story again. Now it is time for you to write your story. Now, here's the criteria. As my story was inspired by the 3 Little Pigs, your story should be inspired by me and by your partner. Your story must include some of the same details as mine. The same setting. It should happen at a food court or cafe place, and it should be lunchtime. It should have the same beginning. The main character is hungry and going to get some food. And you should have at least one same line of dialogue a character said. It can be all of them, but I hope she's gonna pay for that. Or who wrapped this sandwich like this? Or ah! At least one of the same lines of dialogue. You can change or keep the middle, same end, or you can change one of them. You can change or keep the details of what the character sees, hears, does, and says and feels. Okay. You're going to have 10 minutes to write. And I'm giving you 10 minutes to write because I want you to make sure that your story has a beginning, a middle, and end, and that your story has all of those juicy, spicy details that made you want to listen to your partner. So it has what they saw, it has what they heard, it has what they felt, it has what they said, it has what they did in your story. Trying to think, is there anything else? Yeah, so write and then edit. Now, a little background information. It took me 30 minutes to write that story before it was finalized. You have 10. So get to going. If you have a question, go ahead. I'm going to stop share. No, I'm going to leave this up because you might need that, but it should be in your Google Doc also. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's in your Google Doc also. So I'm going to take that down. If you have a question, go ahead and raise a hand. Feel free to turn off your mic, turn off your video.
We're writing our own stories, right?
You're writing your own story. Who asked that?
Jermaine.
Okay, yes, Jermaine, but there are some components that you have to keep from my story. So it's like how I was inspired by the Three Little Pigs. You're inspired by my inspiration story. Does that make sense?
Yes. Did you post your story?
Yeah, it's in that Google Doc. Do you have that? I'm going to send you the. Oh, but Jermaine, I don't want you. Oh, good. Nobody should be reading my story to pull details. This is as you remember it from your notes, from what you wrote. Inspired. Don't worry. I don't care if the facts are right. As you remember.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, if you're still writing, go ahead and bring that to a close. And I'll give you a couple of extra minutes for editing. Now, when we edit our writing, it's always best to hear the words out loud. I always encourage read it out loud for yourself so you can hear it. And then if you know you need to change a word, you need to add a punctuation. So take a couple of minutes and read through it at least twice. Okay. So before you share, I always like to set expectations for the storyteller and the story listener. So listeners, we're listening for those juicy details, how a character says something, what a character says, what they see, what they hear, what they do, or what they feel.
Okay, ready. This weekend past, I went on vacation to a famous shopping mall where the food court served fresh, organic, and authentic food. And the barbecue pork was made with delicious Asian barbecue spices, fresh, hot, and juicy. The pork made melts in your mouth, where the pork melts in your mouth. They served it on small samples on toothpicks. I tried 3. They were shaped like pigtails. I tried the first toothpick sample and it was too sweet. It made my head shake. Then I tried the second toothpick. It was too hot. It made me blow and drop it on the floor. The third toothpick was 3-alarm chili pepper. And I tasted and sneezed, coughed, and it made me blow all the napkins on the counter away. I looked around and everybody was staring at me. I ran away without any food and searched for water. I'm still hungry. Oh, gosh.
Wonderful job. Oh, okay.
All right.
Now is the time where you get to hear some feedback. This is how we give the feedback. It's always a positive feedback. I like how you, or I liked the moment when you. So I'll model first. Other folks, you can unmute if you want to share with your voice or you can type it in. I liked how you kept the 3 things and then you added too hot, too cold. I also liked I liked the moment how you said that. Too hot, I wrote it down with lots of O's. Let's get one other person with some positive feedback for our storyteller.
I liked how you had a lot of details like in your descriptions, like you're like, I coughed and I sneezed, and it was very like detailed, which made it like more interesting.
Yes. Okay, let's have Avery be our second storyteller, and then Anaya, you will close us out. And Jillian said, I liked that moment when you sneezed and the napkins went everywhere. Yes, I wrote that down too. Listeners, you can use your bubble notes as a guide to take some notes for those moments that stand out to you. Yes, Zeb, I did too. I liked how you added organic and authentic, those really nice details. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So I missed the story in the beginning. Anaya told me a version of it, so I'm not sure what was true and what she added. But anyways, I just tried to make a story similar. So as I sat in the cafeteria, ready to jump in the lunch line, I could hear the sound of my stomach loudly growling and grumbling. I had eaten all day and was so excited to see what was for lunch today. I jumped in line to see that we had gumbo and grilled cheese. I was super excited to sit and finally eat. But before I knew it, I had been knocked to the floor by two teenage boys playing football in the cafeteria. My gumbo had spilled all over the floor. I yelled, "You're going to pay for that." I dried myself off with napkins and got back in line. The lunch lady yelled from the back, "We are all out of gumbo. All we have is sloppy Joe." I yelled, "Oh, I hate sloppy Joe." I grabbed the plate, upset and starving, but in the corner, as I sat in the corner, I could see a school fight starting to happen. Two students threw food, one student to the next. And before you knew it, I had gotten hit with food. Before I knew it, I was slinging chunks of sloppy Joe in every direction. Once the principal came in and stopped the chaos, I could hear the sound of my hungry stomach growling again. I thought I thought I would pass out. At this point, I had soup all over me and food from the food fight. I jumped back in line to see if there was still food. The cafeteria lady said, "Baby, we are all out of food. If all we do have is some faculty lunches, but you're gonna have to pay for that." Oh, I left the cafeteria hungry and tired. Who would have thought getting lunch would be so hard?
Wonderful. Okay, some positive feedback. You can type it or say it. I'll start off. I really liked how you kept, you're going to have to pay for that, but changed it to mean something else, but then brought it back to talk about actually paying with money. And I also like how you added the food, the gumbo and the grilled cheese. I had a reaction to that because we used to have that in the cafeteria and when I was in elementary school. Another.
Avery, I liked how you added all the action in your story, which really made me feel all the actions of your emotions, which really made me, experience how you felt when you could not get your gumbo and your grilled cheese.
Summer said, "I like the baby" from the cafeteria worker. It made the story very relatable. Okay, I know it takes a little bit of time for the chat. I want to make sure that we have time now that I don't keep you over. So let's do our final storyteller, Anaya.
Okay. Can you guys still see me?
We can't see you.
Okay, so I'll start. So I was really hungry and I decided I wanted to get some soup. It was like a rainy day and I knew it would just like hit the spot. It was gonna just hit it. So I didn't want to talk to anyone because, I wasn't trying to catch the vid and, keep my distance. So I went to the local cafe where they have the food and you could just pick it up and go. So I go to the cafe and I wait in line. I go to the soup section and I saw this corn soup. I grabbed the bowl and it was way too cold. I wasn't expecting it to be so chill. And it kind of like slipped out my hand a little and spilled on the floor. And this girl from my office who does not like me, her name is Jada, but I call her Jada. And she said, "You better pay for that." But I decided not to choose violence. So I just said, I'm gonna pay for it. Don't worry about it. So then I go to the next bowl, and this was like a tomato basil soup. The basil looked so fresh and the soup looked creamy and delicious. So I picked it up, and this soup was way too hot. Like so hot, I dropped it, just spilled. And the soup fell all over the floor and splashed on Jada. And, you know, in my head, I was thinking that was karma, but I asked if she was okay because, you know, it was really hot. And then I go to the third soup. Now this soup, let me tell you, looks so good. I could see the slight steam, and there was like this beautiful fresh cut veggies, and the chicken looked so tender and juicy. And I was just ready to drink the soup right there. So I decided to pick this soup up, but not too fast because I was deceived by the other soups before. And this soup temperature was just right. It felt like heaven. So I paid for my 3 soups and I went home. I get home, open my soup still at the perfect temperature, and set up my area. I sit down, just taste my mouth filling up with saliva. Tell me why, when I tasted the soup, it had no salt, no type of love, no flavor at all. I was so shook. I sat there and ate my bland soup and never went back to that place again. That's it.
I like how you changed the story from one story that we knew to another one that we knew, and how animated you were the whole time. It kept me engaged.
Same.
For me, it definitely felt like I was just like on the phone talking to my friend after she had like a rough day at work. He was just like running and explaining what happened. So I really enjoyed that take too.
Both stories are making me very hungry, and I love the way they were very creative in words and saying exactly what happened in each interval. I love it.
I really liked how you kept the format, but then you built that progression. And we thought that there was like a win with the soup, and then we got home and it was a letdown. No flavor, no love. Yeah, I really like the narrator character who calls her coworker Jada. Okay. Very nice. And thank you, Deidre. Went ahead and put her story in the chat to share. It is almost time for us to close out. I want to say something that I noticed, and I don't know if you all noticed that too. After the third story, the positive feedback just was flowing out of people. You've noticed that. So there is a practice of repetition that helps always increase comfort. If you do an activity with your students the first time and you're not seeing or hearing what you would hope to hear, allow that space for practice. Think of how many times we just went through hearing stories, telling stories, and giving positive feedback until we got to this point at the very end of our time where it was just flowing out of folks. Okay. On the last page of your Google Doc are the self-reflection prompts that I went with you through after you did your first storytelling. I want you to just pick one, and I want us to use that as our checkout. Jillian went ahead and put the link in your chat again if you don't have it. I will also tell you the names of the prompts and type them here. I enjoyed when we. If it's difficult too. I'm proud of my writing because. I'm proud of myself because. And then the other two about comparing and contrasting your story and my story, that's more of a literacy piece. For this, I just want us to do a personal reflection for our checkout. When you have one that you want to share, you just go ahead and unmute yourself so I know if you're unmuted, that means that you're ready to share a reflection and check out, and I'll call on you. Like Gabby, you can feel free to use the chat. I'm going to speak them out just so we're recording for other teachers to be able to hear it. So Gabby said, I enjoyed when we were able to change the story to our own versions and add our personal flavor to lunchtime.
I enjoyed when we came together after each story and shared our thoughts with each other.
Zeb said, I enjoy it when we gave positive feedback, affirming. Tam says, I'm proud of myself because I used action and description words. Deidre had some difficulties with the technology and being in transition, but shared an appreciation for everyone's actions. Tamika said, I'm proud of myself because I was free to tell the story how I saw it or heard it. Jillian said, I enjoyed when we shared personalized elements to the story that gave them a distinct voice. Yeah, I'm seeing head nods. It was amazing we could hear each of you as a writer in what you wrote. And so really thinking about how you create that space for your summer camp writers, even if you're writing something together with your little ones and we're kind of doing it together, how can we encourage their voice to come in? Francesca said, I enjoy when we broke into groups and we were able to share the different details we might have missed in our retelling. It's fun to see what sticks out for each person. The time right now is 6:01. Out of respect for your time, I'm going to close out this session. Please continue to keep sharing your reflections in the chat so that folks can read them as they see fit. I don't know who that might be.
DoorDash. No.
I wish. But they're right behind the door. I can't see.
Did we read what Avery said?
Yeah, Zeb, will you read that one, please?
It is sometimes difficult as adults to tap into our creativity and not always be so serious and work-minded. I enjoyed seeing you all laugh, think outside of the box, and have fun, which is our ultimate goal for the young people we serve. Hallelujah. Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes, yes, yes.